These days, it's hard to find a corner of the world worth visiting that hasn't already made it into a travel magazine's short list of secret treasures. So it's with a certain reluctance that I reveal the whereabouts of an as yet unfrequented region in the far northeast of Vietnam, near the Chinese border. Until recently, Ha Giang Province was altogether off limits to foreigners, having been the site of clashes between Chinese and Vietnamese border troops. Even now you need a special permit to travel near the border. What attracts my partner Joanne and me to this far corner of the universe is a scant few sentences in the Lonely Planet guidebook, calling it Vietnam's final frontier. Being a sucker for final frontiers, I'm hooked. The guidebook speaks of an amazing Sunday market in the border town of Dong Van, and I'm instantly intrigued. We negotiate with several Hanoi-based travel agencies and settle on a customized 6-day loop, taking us north to the provincial capital of Ha Giang, then on to Dong Van, along the border to Meo Vac, and then on to Ba Be National Park before heading back to Hanoi. Sounds simple, but it's an arduous trek, even in a four-wheel drive SUV, maneuvered along hairpin, crumbling one-lane dirt byways by Quang, our veteran road warrior. In a region where the languages spoken are still limited to Vietnamese and local dialects, our young English-speaking guide, Phu Min, provides cultural and historical commentary as we pepper him with questions. More than a guide and interpreter, in the course of our journey together, Phu becomes a friend. With his help, we begin to see Vietnam through the eyes of a native, albeit one who grew up in Hanoi rather than the highlands. Entering onto the Ha Giang Loop, north of the provincial capital by the same name, I'm reminded of the Japanese haiku poet Basho's classic pilgrimage, the narrow road to the far north. The topography here is otherworldly. The misty, rounded peaks, sculpted from karst formations common throughout Southeast Asia, put one in mind of frigid climes, yet the clouds are actually steaming hot. The road is indeed narrow, scarcely a single lane, with frequent blind curves and drop-off cliffs. Heavy trucks and vans, motorcyclists, peasants, and water buffalo appear from behind rock faces with startling suddenness. Quang takes it all in stride. He's utterly unflappable, seldom altering his steady pace, never losing his relaxed demeanor. Having driven the route dozens of times, he knows every turn in the road, each pothole and plunging chasm. He glides blithely between motorbikes, water buffalo, and shepherds, with millimeters to spare, and neither he nor they so much as flinch. Then we round a bend and abruptly come to a halt. Before us, a makeshift crew of young men and women is busy grading a stretch of road. Lacking even the most primitive mechanical tools to move rock, each scoops a wok-sized portion of gravel from a pile, walks 20 feet, and tosses it on the road. The sole motorized device is a jerry-rigged tar boiler blasting away at the far end of the construction site. Unlike highway crews at home, so often seen leaning on their shovels while just one among them actually works, these uncomplaining kids look more like a high school class drafted to patch potholes. The Sisyphean scale of their task doesn't seem to bother them in the least. We disembark from our car and walk ahead, where we encounter 3 generations of a family living in a simple earthen home by the side of the road. I study the intricate lacework face of the grandmother and her wry, toothless grin, and I find myself wondering what she's witnessed in her long life. Did she experience the war that ravaged her country for decades? Maybe so, but also the lives of her children and now grandchildren. Evidently they were pleasures enough to preserve the impish smile on her face. In markets and along roadsides as we head into the deep north towards Dong Ban, we find vibrant life. For the moment, it remains undisturbed by the frenetic pace and chaotic development that have already transformed the entire day's drive from Hanoi north to the provincial capital of Ha Giang into a dismal industrial wasteland. Passing through a grove of wild bamboo, we're suddenly engulfed in a fluttering of butterflies. We stand among them and can hear, almost feel, the beating of their wings in the still, steaming afternoon air. They're larger than those I'm used to seeing back home, but they also seem less shy of being seen. After 2 days of hard travel, we arrive in Dong Van on Saturday night. We awaken ourselves early Sunday morning, hoping to be present for the start of the market. Villagers of varied ethnic communities in the surrounding hills come from far and wide to trade produce, housewares, and livestock, and to gossip with one another. An easy familiarity pervades the throng, as if everyone is part of an extended family. Kids run free. Pigs squeal. Ducks quack. Men hunch over long bamboo pipes. And farmers offer samples of their rice wines. For us, there's an intoxicating air, of being just where we'd hoped we'd be. No question it's been worth the effort of shaping our entire Vietnam itinerary around this one market morning in the far northern outpost of Dong Van. As I stroll among the vendors, photographing here and there, zooming in to catch an expression on a face lined with age and care, or a moment of shared laughter, they pay me no mind. It's almost as if we're invisible. There are so few non-locals in this market that I would have thought we'd be objects of curiosity or suspicion. But not so. We couldn't have asked for more. In their openness, there's a refreshing candor, an unself-conscious authenticity that we Westerners in an era of selfies find increasingly hard to access. Yet these mountain people aren't entirely innocent of modernity. Here and there among women wearing their traditional clothing, I spot cell phones, as natural to their users as cattle and pigs are to their owners. One wonders how much all this will change once tourists with their more sophisticated tastes and technologies become more than a rarity in this final frontier of traditional ethnic life. And I can't help wishing that they could inoculate themselves from the distractions and temptations of modern life. But I know well that they cannot, and they may not wish to. Beyond Dongvan, just a few kilometers from the Chinese border, the road turns more precarious yet, hanging on to the edge of infinity. Cornstalks twice the height of their planters cascade thousands of feet down precipitous slopes. Who knew the Vietnamese grow and eat corn, not just rice, and that they plant it on impossibly vertical mountainsides, just as the Mayans do in the highlands of Guatemala? How do they do it? Do they stake themselves to the ground while planting and harvesting? Meo Vac is a dusty outpost among rounded hills. We settle into a mountain lodge nested among cornfields. It's a 19th century ethnic minority house, rebuilt to accommodate guests, with clay walls, hand-hewn beams, and hand tools on display from an earlier era. We lie down upstairs, and our road-weary bones are soothed by the sounds of an afternoon rain washing down the roof tiles. On a stroll down the puddled lane, when the rain lets up, we come upon a few families chatting and laughing while cradling their infants in their arms. Greeting us, they offer them to us to hold and urge us in sign language to pose with them and take photos with our cameras. Together we view the results. In a language universal to parents of all cultures and nationalities, we share their pleasure in their offspring, bathing one another in laughter, pride, and congratulations. Ba Be National Park, our last stop on the Ha Giang Loop, is a wilderness of soaring limestone cliffs, lush valleys, emerald lakes, and traditional villages, populated largely by the Tay minority tribe, with a smattering of Zhao and Hmong people. Extended families live in stilt homes above rice paddies. Homestays are well established here. Ours looks down on a grassy volleyball court, where games are almost always in progress. From early morning on, some villagers can be seen harvesting and threshing rice, while others herd water buffalo. In front of many homes, bright yellow corn and long-grain rice are spread on concrete slabs to dry in the scorching sun. There's an air of pastoral calm and industriousness. No hurry here, but everyone has something to do. Phu arranges a day-long boat ride for us along the 3 bays that make up Ba Be. The park is dense with wildlife, including 353 species of butterflies and a Burmese python. Thankfully, we find no pythons in our path, but on our way to the boat launch, we encounter stunning butterflies the size of hummingbirds. They're utterly unperturbed by our presence. Nearby, a young man tinkers with a broken part under his pickup. Our boatman thoughtfully provides us with earplugs to soften the harsh crackle of the outboard motor, on the otherwise tranquil lake. Swimming is a special treat in the oppressive heat.
Wow!
And we take advantage of numerous opportunities to dive in and cool down. We cruise past a timeless tableau. Water buffalo, kingfishers and raptors, peasant farmers working among the cornstalks, and rock formations shrouded in lush vegetation. Our destination is Puang Cave, a splendid cavern bisected entirely by the Nang River. At 40 meters high and 300 meters long, it's reputed to be home to some 7,000 bats of 18 species, of which we observe our fair share darting among the stalactites. On our return, we meet 3 young French travelers at our homestay, a couple and a single woman, all coincidentally hailing from Toulouse. They've been traveling for some time now, longer than most Americans give ourselves, yet they show no signs of burnout. Robin, or Rockin' Robin as he calls himself, is a troubadour who carries a guitar on his back, a tent in his pack, and a blues harp in his pocket. Styling himself a cross between Bob Dylan and John Denver, he's taught himself the songbooks of both and sings their signature tunes with rollicking Gallic charm.
All my memories gathering here, minus ladies, stranded to blue water.
Who would have guessed that here in a Tay ethnic minority stilt house on the narrow road to Vietnam's deep north, we 2 Americans, children of the 60s and 70s, would find a French troubadour singing the soundtrack of our youth, and that we'd be swing dancing to his tunes, while 3 generations of a Tay family would be laughing and clapping. What a relief in this era of renewed suspicion and reclosing borders to find an easy remixing of cultures here at a final frontier in the back of beyond.
Rào đằng